Hey guys, I'm FluffyBoy32, back with the Airsoft podcast, and my co-host Will from BBSlingerTV.
Hey guys.
And we also have, as our guest, Chris from BunkerBoxes.com, sweet company. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there, this is Chris Cope from BunkerBoxes.com. Good to be with you today.
So we had a ton of scheduling problems. We could not find anyone. Chris, we called last minute, and we helped him install Skype. So, yeah, we've been doing that for a few minutes, and we got him on the podcast. We thought we would go ahead and give him a little shout out and do a little interview with him about his company BunkerBoxes. We'll get into that in a little bit, but for now, I guess we'll go ahead and start off with the topics. Who is interested in the KWA KRISS? I know we talked about this early before, but I'm not sure what Chris's standpoint is on the KRISS, if he likes it or not.
I would like to have one in my hands and shoot one. I really do. I like the design of the weapon. I'm not really into a lot of futuristic stuff. I like old school type guns, but it looks like it's pretty practical to me. I've shot some real steel class 3 stuff, and I've shot a real MP5 and spent some time with some other military guns, and I think that they're on the right page with it. I'd love to be able to own one or at least play with one.
And yeah, and Will, you want to say anything?
They're supposed to be released in stores really soon, hopefully before 2013. So
we tried to shake Alan from KWA down, try to get him to say something, give us any info possible, and we couldn't break him. But we do know, if this is true, I talked to a few people, overseas they're supposed to be getting them in a few days apparently, which obviously shipping will take about maybe close to a week. So you basically expect them in stores or in your hands within a week or so. Hopefully, that's just rumor at this point, but it's gonna be interesting as well as all the different. I'm interested to see their final prototype, because the prototypes that are flying around now, they don't have hop-ups, or they don't have certain things, so or stuff isn't completely finalized. It'll be interesting to see what they finally come out with, and I'm really wondering what the FPS is going to be. I'm thinking it's going to be 350 FPS, just rumored, but I don't know.
Airsoft today says 370.
Yeah, the last prototype was at 400, and if Airsoft today's right, then we got 370. So they're working it down, hopefully. But as always, expect RA Tech to come out with some kind of impasse kit for it, like all the guns they do. So yeah, that was the quickest topic I think we've ever had on the show.
It says WGC shop will be the one to first receive and sell the replica for $297 starting December 18th.
Not bad.
I tell you what, you guys ought to hook up with the fellow that runs Gas Blowback Central.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
In Houston, and let's see, I'm trying to think of his first name. He's one of my clients because they carry some of my stuff. Anyway, we can find him on Facebook. I'm drawing a blank for a moment, but
Facebook.
He's a big KWA guy, and he'll probably have a pretty good take on it soon. I hope he's in the list to be able to carry one of those pretty quickly and let people try it out, because he takes stuff almost every weekend for people to shoot and try out at skirmishes in Texas.
So if we can find someone who has gotten in stores, we'll try to get their take on it and let you guys know in the next podcast if we can.
If we can, yeah.
If we can. Yeah, no promises, but we'll try.
Yeah, no promises as always, because almost everything we get are either rumors or it gets stumped by the next time we do a podcast.
That guy's name is Adam Rivera.
Yeah, there we go. One thing I will say though, I don't know if this is. I really hate to say it, but I'm hoping the KWA KRISS will live up to the hype, I guess.
Right.
I just think it's been hyped so much to the point where if this thing doesn't give you an energy drink and you can take it to school and write with it type stuff,
Yeah.
I think it's to the point where it's been hyped so much that it's gonna be a really downer when it doesn't come out to be what everyone expected.
Right.
Obviously, at a consumer standpoint, set your expectations super low, and then when you get, I mean, obviously KWA, you gotta set them pretty high because it's KWA, but set them low. When you get it, you're like, oh my gosh, this just blows my expectations away. Because if you have really high expectations, you're gonna get disappointed. Because
Right.
I mean, obviously, it's not going to shoot lasers and fly for you. So
it's not going to be. I can guarantee you, as much as gas blowback technology has come along, it's not going to be, it's not going to shoot like a PolarStar with a tank.
it's not going to be winterproof. We can just basically say that.
But most of the people that are going to be buying a gun like this, they're probably going to be CQB addicts, and that's going to be
great
really
for it.
Awesome CQB gun.
Yeah, and
because the setup of it is so compact, and reloading is going to be pretty easy on it. It's gonna make a great CQB gun.
Yeah, and as long as they keep the magazine capacity to like 40 rounds or higher, it's going to be fine. And as long as magazines are available enough, then it shouldn't be a problem. I just hope it's. I didn't remember looking at it. I just hope it's going to be compatible with some other kind of pistol magazine. I don't know that that's true or not. But.
No, like right now, that was one of the rumors that was going around at one point, was that the magazine was like this was. I mean, this was actually, people actually thought this was true. They're like, oh, it's going to be compatible with the Glock magazines because the KWA, the actual KRISS in real life, it uses Glock magazines. Well, KWA stumped that, thank goodness, early enough and said, no, it does take Glock magazines, but it's not going to take our old M series magazines because the KWA Super V is based off the I think it's not Smorty, the 40 Smith & Wesson. So it's gonna, and that's what the Super V is based off of. So it's not going to be shooting a 9mm like the M series were based off of. So the magazine's going to be thicker and a little bit bigger. So. It would be nice though, because I know there's a lot of people that stockpiled those old M series 18C magazines, and for those people, I feel really bad for you. But just sell off your 18C and get a KRISS. If they live up to the hype, then yeah, get one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out and run off and spend your hard-earned money. I'm just saying look into it, see if it's any good. Because I mean, I did the same thing with the LM4. I thought it was going to be just this overly amazing gun, and it turned out it's a good gun. It wasn't anything that impressed me to sell my other gas blowback guns to get it.
Right. I think that corner is going to turn around though, because there's been enough push and enough emphasis in the airsoft community on gas blowback stuff over the last couple of years, especially with them announcing that they're working, and Wee's come out with that AK-47 that really is close to a dead ringer for a real one, and the way the thing operates, they're trying to put more emphasis on it, and because of that, I think the pressure is going to be on to really make this thing shine, or at least maybe version 2 of it. So,
speaking, and that would be actually really interesting, and a few people brought that up, was people wanted to see like an AEG version of the KRISS,
right?
And there actually is one out there. It was custom built. There's a guy, I don't know where. I saw it a while back on one of the Airsoft forums, and someone posted it. They had created one basically from scratch, and it looked just dead perfect to the real thing. But one thing you did mention about the gas AKs, I would be interested to see, because KWA is coming out with a AK-47. That's going to be really interesting to see where they go with that, as well as their Shock series that's coming out. I'm very interested to see how that stands up to or compares to the TM Shock series, because the TM Shock series really set the bar for recoil in an AEG. I mean, it's really up there, and I'm interested to see how KWA actually either one-upped TM or matched them. I want to see what they do with that.
Tokyo Marui doesn't have a big enough face in the USA, I don't think. Somehow, there's just, you don't find that many players, at least not in our area, that own their stuff.
Yeah. The way I see it is Tokyo Marui is pretty much, they mainly focus on the Japanese market,
Right.
And then once that's all said and done, they're like, okay, we'll ship a few scars over to the United States.
Right.
That's really the only that's the only reason we actually have guns over here is because they're willing to send some over. If it weren't for that, it would be hard to import them.
Okay, and I got this. I just messaged Alan, and he says, "This is coming straight from KWA." So, the AK-47 from KWA is the next on the release list after the KRISS.
Okay. Well, good.
So after the KRISS, the AK will be coming out.
Pretty much the way I see it is they're gonna probably have most of these out by May. Just in time for summer to get, because obviously gas guns shine the summer.
Right.
So they're gonna get these out probably right before summer, so kids can spend their money, get a gas gun, and go out and play, and which is smart.
This year it's been warm enough here in Oklahoma and in the Tulsa area where I live that gas stuff outdoors is still okay.
Yeah, because it's like right now I'm looking at my computer and it's 62 degrees outside.
Right.
On December the 16th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That is not normal.
Right.
I should not be wearing shorts and a short sleeve t-shirt right now.
Okay.
It's just weird.
Christmas is in, what, 9 days?
Yep.
And we're still wearing shorts.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine go jet skiing. It's just crazy. And then on top of that, you got all the apocalyptic kids running around going, the world's gonna end because it's really hot. And it's just kind of annoying. I mean, that's literally today. Literally, that's all I heard from people was like, oh, we're gonna die on Friday. Yep, everybody get ready. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna sit on my roof, drink Kool-Aid, and like watch the sun blow up. Then, if that's actually true, because it's not. I'm just gonna I'm just like whatever. If it does happen, well, good for you. You got something right.
Well, Keith Richards and Google will still somehow survive, even if the rest of us are gone. You know.
Yeah, there may not be anyone around, but they'll still have a mainframe at Google to use.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just really. I think it's just going to be another Y2K at this point, but I mean, you never know.
I won't tell you my story about that one on the air.
But someone did mention something that and I mentioned this last podcast, even if like the world really doesn't end, the problem you're going to run into is looters. Like people are going to be looting really bad. It's going to get really, really bad.
Well, I guess I'll have to. Maybe I'll just sleep in that day.
Yeah. Lock all your doors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. The fact that people are very gullible this way. I mean, and it's kind of interesting that up until probably today or yesterday, I really haven't heard much of anything from anyone about, oh, the world's going to end. But last year, it was like all over the news, or not news, but it was like all over the internet and everything saying the world's going to end. Now it's like, we're 4 days away and nothing.
Well, I don't think NASA has warned us about, or anybody has warned us about some kind of comet or meteor or anything.
NASA actually put out a public statement, or the government did. I forget which one it was. They put out a public statement saying the world's not going to end. Everybody can calm down. There's not going to be this death planet or whatever. And the funny thing is, actually, multiple governments actually had to issue a statement saying this, because people are just that gullible.
Possibly.
Yeah, I mean, if the people are that gullible, I mean, hey, if you guys want to send me money to my PayPal, yeah, because I'm a millionaire, by the way, quote unquote. So yeah, I mean, it's just weird. So you want to move on to a new topic? Anyone got any new something? Awkward silence.
Airsoft today says Vega Force, or VFC, is coming out with a MK12 Mod 1.
Oh, yeah,
SPR.
yeah. A lot of Navy SEAL fanatics are going nuts over that.
Yeah. I personally love the MK12, the looks of the outside. The looks of the gun are great, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, VFC, period, is just... Yeah, it's like to die for, pretty much. I mean, they make some really good guns.
My goal next is to end up with something from the nicer series of the Elite Force stuff, especially since I'm hooked up with them. I'd like to start using some of their stuff when I play. And I've shot a couple of the HK416s, and which the internals, from what I understand, are made by VFC, and they're about as close as. Now I've shot a couple of PTWs and I liked them, but the price tag is just, to me, it's not even wise. But if you're a PTW lover out there, I'm not hating on you. If you can afford to shoot one, they're wonderful, especially if you want long range. But to me, the Elite Force stuff is going to be closer to a PolarStar turned down a little bit. And you don't have to carry the tank, and they're like a laser beam. I mean, they shoot really straight, really flat. And the one that I shot was not even the full length one; it was the shorter one, and it was just great. There wasn't even a reason to buy the long one, unless you just want that look. It shot very, very well.
The only thing I don't like about the Elite Forces is that big, ugly warning sticker on the side, or warning label on the side. It just drives me nuts. Like it's like all these beautiful trademarks. It's like, oh, the trademarks are so amazing. Then you flip it over and you just want to like puke all over the place. Like, this is just terrible.
Well, that's why you buy some of that blue tape and you take a razor blade and then you carefully spray paint over that one little spot.
Yeah, but the only problem is it's like trying to match that and not make it look weird is kind of hard. But
I'd rather have a bad looking black spot than I have the warning label. So
that is true. I'll give it to you on that one.
Either way.
So, Chris, you own a Elite Force 1911, right?
Yes, I do. And I have, let's see, I think I've got about 3 magazines for it, yeah.
I just want to get your opinion on it, because I know some people bash on it, but a lot of people love it.
What are they saying that they don't like about it? How about that?
Well, a lot of people, I mean, I know the FPS on it isn't exactly as advertised. I mean, what are your readings on it?
Well, the pros and cons of it to me are it shoots. Now, you got to keep in mind that the one that I have is a pre-production sample.
Okay.
It was. I got one before hardly anybody had one out in stores because they sent me one, and it shoots like 370, 380 feet per second. So it doesn't have the range of a rifle, but for about 4 or 5 magazines worth of CO2 before you even have to change the cartridge out, it doesn't drop in velocity very much. As in, it's going to shoot hard until it just about goes empty, which amazed me. And you can get about 5 mags of really hard shooting loads out of it before you even need to change a cylinder. So somebody, if they're really strict in a CQB environment, and they make you chrono the pistols, it's going to be a problem.
I know.
Field. I play mostly field, and they don't have issues. I don't have issues when I go play field with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No. What's it called? The CQB arena in Georgia.
SS Airsoft.
Yeah, SS Airsoft. I know they allow the Elite Force 1911. Like, they don't even chrono it. Okay. Well, they make chrono of it, but I know it's allowed.
Well, the thing about it is, too, a pistol is going to drop off in velocity fast enough. I mean, if you shoot somebody at point blank range with them, you're not going to put them in the hospital. They're not going to like you very much for a few minutes. But to me, the danger issue with a handgun is not as big of a deal because it's not going to retain its velocity quite the same.
Mm.
But the newer model, the TAC model, is supposed to have. And also just some of the later regular ones like I've got. I've just got like the GI looking World War II type one. They're supposed to have done something with a regulator valve inside of it to bring it down. So I think the new TAC models are going to be shooting softer. From what they're telling me.
Which one of the nice things, if you're saying 370 for CO2, that's really not bad at all, because I've seen
That's
some
really good, actually.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the because I've seen a lot of players, they'll go out and just to have like a pistol, they'll go and pick up like one of the little the Crossman CO2 non-blowback ones, which obviously the non-blowback adds into the FPS being higher. But those things will pop you out at 300, 350. I mean, they really sting.
It's higher than that. It's like 375.
Yeah, it really is not something you just want to... It's really not someone... If someone is playing with one of those things, you're pretty much targeting that person to make sure they're out before they can actually shoot someone.
Right.
Yep.
It's kind of like the guy that brings an M249 saw to a CQB event and they let him in, and so everybody's like, kill that guy first.
Yeah. Everybody... He can put 40 rounds a second at us, but we can at least all put 40 rounds back at him.
Well, his thing is he can shoot 3,000 rounds before he's got to reload, too.
Yeah, and see, that's the only downside to it. I mean, there are some CQB environments that's fine, but most CQB arenas, the way they're set up, it's just, if you're running a saw, you got a really big advantage, to say the least.
Yep.
But I really want Elite Force 1911. It's my favorite gas pistol. Like I've told Henry before, I'm not getting another gas pistol. If the only one I'm gonna get is the Elite Force 1911 because of CO2. Because I don't like green gas or using propane. But
Well, what I've been learning from over the past several months, I've been trying to pick the brains of the guys that use pistol a lot, and they're saying part of the reason that people have problem with gas pistols is there's not really that good of a widespread knowledge of how to take care of them. You got to keep them clean. But the other thing they do is they take the magazines apart and they'll use some RTV sealant, or they'll use some of that plumber's grease that comes in.
Oh gosh.
No. It's kind of like it comes in. You can get it like in a little toothpaste tube.
Yeah.
And it just looks like almost like toothpaste, but it's a grease. And you can rub that on the rubber seals of the magazine, and then reassemble the magazine. And it creates a lot better seal.
Huh, I never knew that.
The other thing is you don't ever completely, on a gas gun, you don't ever completely discharge it with gas. You leave a little bit in there.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things I've run into, because I do a lot of stuff with gas guns, and I'll have people that just kind of know stuff about gas guns.
Right.
And they'll tell me, hey, my gas gun's leaking, or something like that. And I'm like, do you store it with gas in it? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, there's your problem. You either need to, pretty much if you're going to be storing it for a long time or like more than a week, you either have to just drop it in silicone oil, or you're going to have to leave gas in it, because those O-rings will, they shrink really quickly.
Right. Well, the other thing, if you've got some kind of a grease or heavier substance on there, it's going to run better. Now, the only handgun I've got right now is that one, and Andy and Cliff at Elite Force basically told me just to make sure that I keep silicone on the seals on the mag on it, and it's going to be all right. Because it's a CO2 one, he said just put a little bit of silicone up there on that white part that touches where the little needle comes out on the tank, and squirt a little bit of stuff in there, and it'll be okay. And he said also keep, like with that gun, even if you've got an empty cylinder, keep it screwed onto the valve up in there, because it'll just keep dirt and other debris out of the magazine works. That way you've always got a tank touching that area. You don't have to have it tightened on there real tight, but just keep it assembled, But you don't want to leave a CO2 gun, because it's a much higher pressure in there. You don't want to leave CO2 in it for a long time either. Now, I have done that and forgotten like a week and a half and still had gas in mine.
Yeah, and normally most CO2 pistols, if you do that, they'll start to leak, and they'll just start to leak. But if
that's gas in them.
Yeah, they'll have gas in them, and like I've done that before on some of the old Crossmans I used to have. Normally they'll start to leak after a while, and then when you come back, they're done. But for a week, that's actually really good for the gas to still be in there.
Yeah, I don't have hardly any leak. That's the one thing that I liked more about this gun, especially if you're in a really rough and tumble environment. People think CQBs are rough. Well, you have to look at it two ways. You might be banging against barricades and things like that, but you're not hitting the ground, rolling around in the dirt, doing stuff like we do in field. And particularly the team that I'm on, we're pretty aggressive. And we'll cross a creek and get totally soaking wet if we can go take somebody out. We'll crawl in the dirt, hit the ground, and at the end of a 2-day event, our gear is filthy. So you want something that's not going to leak gas. And what I'm finding most of the time when I go play a skirmish or something, and I'm using a regular gas gun, I've got to maintain my mag level even if I'm not using my pistol. They don't hold gas as good as the CO2 gun that I've got. And some people have had different issues, but most of the people that are running the KWAs and the KJWs say that they hold gas pretty well. The off-brand stuff doesn't as much.
Yeah, normally they cut corners, which obviously they have to make it cheaper, but
right.
Normally they'll cut corners, and you'll be able to tell after a while that they did cut some corners.
Yep.
Okay, well, now that we've kind of done a few topics, I guess we can go ahead and get to know BunkerBoxes a little better. If you want to go ahead and kind of tell us more about your company and everything, then our viewers and everyone, or listeners, I always get that wrong, our listeners can kind of get to know you a little better, so
all right,
take it away.
My company is basically a small custom shop, but we have a site up that is it has a products page and some introductory. It's about maybe 4 or 5 pages long. The website is. It's kept simple on purpose for the reason that we're a custom shop. A lot of the stuff that we do is made to order. I have people ask me, can you build this or can you build that? And the answer is usually yes. So people want things modified or made that way. So about half of what we do is made to order. People call and request something. And probably the other half of it is what people order off of the site. Or if they catch me with a few items up on eBay, we'll do that. I have a range of stuff from about $23 to about $300. So there's a price point pretty much for everybody in Airsoft, something that's affordable. The BB ammo box, which everybody calls just the BB box, it is kind of the start, and that's one of the more popular things.
I have one of those, and
yes,
they're great.
I really enjoyed going to events, and almost every time I show up at an Airsoft event, somebody's got a BB box or a rifle rack or something. So I'm like, hey, all right, that's always rewarding to see that. It started out basically as a love of old military crates, old ammo crates from World War II and the Vietnam era and things like that. And I thought, well, I want to build myself some stuff to carry to go play Airsoft with. It looks military. I don't want to carry my stuff in a Rubbermaid tub or some nylon bag. I want it to be look more military when I show up and start unloading my gear. And other people started noticing it, and they're saying, hey, why don't you see if some other people want that? And with some friends' encouragement, I just kind of went for it and slowly got into it a little bit at a time. And the rest is history. That's what we're about. It's about the look and the quality of something American made, something that's affordable, but it can also be personalized. If you want something stenciled with a happy birthday or something like that to, somebody wants to give somebody a rifle crate, I'll do that. I'll put their name on it, or if they want a particular saying, as long as it's, not crude or as long as it's family safe, I'll stencil it on there. I don't do special requests for off-color things, but pretty much it's an open-ended thing. Everybody gets to personally talk to me and tell me what they want, and we figure it out. I send them a proposal, and then they have something that's very personalized and unique to them when it shows up.
So yeah, if like you were saying, he's an American company, started here in the U.S. and I've seen some of the stuff. Like I've seen pictures. I've talked to people that own a lot of his stuff, and it's really quality made. It's not some cheap stuff. I mean, it literally does. It's proudly made in the United States, and you can see why. He puts his time into what he does. And we will have all links in the description of this video. They will be down in the description. Links to his website, as well as, do you have any other links besides your website?
Facebook page.
The milsimperspective.com. They have info about me. Actually, the guy that owns the Milsim Perspective is also a person that helps me in producing and in design development. And he actually has a hands-on in the shop. He helps me build products sometimes. Also, you can find some. I have some pictures up, and there's a link to me on okayairsoft.net. Also on AmericanMilsim.com. On GasBlowbackCentral.com, probably also on TA Airsoft. I don't know their website. It may be just TAAirsoft.com. And there is also a place called Vertex Airsoft in Houston, Texas. As well as Gas Blowback Central in Houston, Texas, that are involved with what I do.
Okay, well, we'll make sure to have all those links down in the description. Really, other than that, that's BunkerBoxes for you. I can't say it enough. They're a very good company. It's just you and the other guy, right?
Primarily, the fellow that works at Stephen Hines that owns the Milsim Perspective, he is also involved in the shop. He comes by and helps build product, and also helps me do prototypes of different things when we're coming up with a new design. He's involved in that.
So pretty much it's just a two-man job.
Yeah, unless Henry and Will Bitter want to move to Tulsa, and then you can,
count us in. Count us in.
You can help, or you can just drive over is fine too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I do know that you do a ton of airsoft events and stuff. So, you want to share any, I guess, war stories? Like, any funny moments? Any just epic, out of this world stuff, or is it normally just bland one kill stuff?
No. I work with an organized team called the Oklahoma Badland Regulators. We're a core group of just a few guys, but we have other teams that we run with when we go to big events. One of them is Delta 9. I believe they're out of Texas. I only usually see them. I chat with them sometimes on Facebook, but they're also, I think they're on a couple of different forums. But we do them. And then also there's the fellows from RRT Paintball. They will play with us and do airsoft stuff, usually at the event at D-Day Park. And last year we had a pretty interesting time sneaking down a hill, and we took out a whole horde of players with just a few of us by, I think we had 2 suppressive fire guys, and we had a whole bunch of riflemen, but we were kind of spread out, and we managed to make it about halfway down the hill without I think maybe one or two of us got hit. And one fella jumps up and yells, "We own this mountain, get off of it." And as they were complaining, the other team was complaining to the refs and the admins. We noticed quite a few dead rags and people reluctantly leaving. And there was enough body language going on to say that they weren't real happy about being defeated, but we play really hard and are glad of that. So, and we encourage everybody to play honorably too. That sometimes comes into some issues at bigger events, but the guys over at American Milsim handle that pretty well. They have good admins and they really care about a good honorable game. So, big shout out to those guys. They do a great job. Bo Stewart and Blake Danier, Rick Kastner, and their other support staff. They really work hard to put on some good events.
Now, what all do you run for, like, as a primary weapon? What do you normally run?
I've got a really ugly-looking Sima AK.
Those are actually pretty reliable.
Totally. At least the one I have. I've got the AK-74 SU. It is the one with the side folding stock. If you look at Sima, it's like the CM035. It's not an expensive gun, but it's, of all the guns that I've ever owned and used out in the field and fallen on and tripped on and, you know, wonder why they still work, that one is the best. And hopefully here soon you'll see me out there with some kind of an HK416 by Elite Force or something that they make. I'm anxious to get something that they've got into my hands too.
Well, you want to get any other news in that you can think of? We still got about a good half hour if you guys want to talk about anything.
If you guys were here, we could play ping pong on my workbench. You know, we could come up with we could string some dust masks together and a couple of C-clamps and make us a net. You know, and
we got that redneck.
Yeah, we could have a live ping pong tournament, and you know, I don't know about if the scenery is that great, but you know, it might be fun.
Live ping pong on the Airsoft podcast.
That's right, Airsoft pong.
That would actually be kind of funny. I'm actually tempted to actually do that now.
We would have to figure out how to mute the ping pong ball, though. It might get it might get a little loud.
Dun, dun.
Trying to see something. I saw a bunch of stuff pop up on one of my Facebook feeds about a few guns that are supposed to be coming out soon. Let me look real quick.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like gas guns, what do you normally prefer? Like just across the board, do you prefer CO2 or green gas? What do you normally?
Well, to me, I'm running the Elite Force 1911, and it has been a lot more reliable than the gas stuff that I've had. I haven't been able to field test a KWA yet. I've used some various things. I've used, a friend's Wee High Kappa, and I've used a KJW 1911 and tested them a little bit, and they were all right. But to me, everything leaks gas more than that CO2 gun that I've got for some reason, and that probably it's just the mags need to be conditioned a little bit. But I don't have any experience with a gas blowback rifle other than just firing one here and there, at an airsoft store or somebody letting me try one. I've never skirmished with one. But for pistols, that Elite Force C02 gun has done real well. I don't wonder if it's going to go off or if it's going to be out of gas when I use it. It holds gas really well.
Now, we were talking right before the show, and you said you do a little bit of real steel shooting. What kind of stuff do you do?
Either went off or something.
No, I got it.
Somebody shot me.
Chris, we were talking right before the show, and you were talking about that you did some real steel shooting. What kind of stuff do you do?
I'm an old fart. I'm 43 this year. That's not really old, but maybe to you guys it is. I don't run as fast on the field as some people do. I used to work at a gun store when I was in my early 20s, and on the weekends I did a lot of stuff with 1911s. We would do steel plate competition where you've got either machines or fixed plates that have a steel plate that fall when you shoot them. It was like a timed competition event. That was a lot of fun. Just did a little bit of small game hunting and that kind of thing as a young adult and as a kid. And then I've shot. I've spent a little time with an AK-47 and I owned an SKS and an M1 carbine for a while. Shot an M1A and an M1 Garand, and got to spend a good bit of time with an MP5, a real one. That was a lot of fun. Love to have one of those. Most of it is stuff that other people have shot. My favorite thing, if I could just collect stuff, would be probably old military stuff. I like the old rifles, even all the way back to the cowboy guns. But I would like to have like a World War II and Vietnam era gun collection. If I could do that, that would be really awesome.
So you've really been around the block as far as real steel goes.
Yeah, and I had to kind of. It took me a bit of an adjustment at Airsoft events to know how to draw the line about muzzle discipline and stuff like that. Because when I walk up into a gathering with people with guns, I'm used to everybody having real guns, and the danger factor is a whole lot different, and so I'm on high alert. So Airsoft events, it took me a little bit of adjustment for that. I don't have a military combat background. I have a lot of friends who are vets who I've interviewed and talked to a lot of times, but they tell me some of the same thing. It's a big adjustment to go play Airsoft and shoot at your buddies with guns that look real and be able to distinguish the difference between the two. But the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Now, as far as new guns coming out, because I know there's a few people that are bugging me. They're wanting more news in our podcast. So, for those people that are wanting that, here you go. Let me know. I think our call just went down. Nope, never mind. We're back up.
Oh, we're still here.
Yeah, no, it was my recording almost went down. Okay. That was scary. Okay, but I know there's a lot of guys that are bugging me about actual gun news coming out. As far as the PKM, because I know people are bugging me and everyone else for information, PKM from A&K is coming out soon. It's looking like it's going to be about $600 or so, from what I've been able to look at from different sites and stuff. Mm-hmm. You can get them currently from overseas. I forget the name of the store, but they carry them right now, and you can pick them up. They're actually really, really, really nice as far as I can tell. Only biggest problem I've found is the barrel. It's parts of the PKM itself aren't actually steel. They're made out of pot metal, pretty much, which for a gun that's that expensive, it's kind of it kind of sucks because you're paying like $600. You expect it to be full steel.
Well, if it's going to be a barrel breakage issue, or are we talking about the receiver or what?
I believe it was part of the barrel was I believe the part of the barrel was pot metal as well as a few other pieces. But then they did put steel in certain places to reinforce parts.
Right.
And for anyone else wondering, I know Chris mentioned that you were interested in the PolarStars. Like, are you fans of them or do you hate them?
No. I got to use one I sponsored an event last year, or no, it was this year. It was this spring at TA Airsoft, close to Oklahoma City, and there was one of the players there who had a PolarStar M4 set up, and he let me play with it for a few minutes, and I was totally impressed with the way his gun was working. Now he obviously was the kind of player that was going to take care of and maintain his stuff. Of course, PolarStar stuff doesn't take a lot of maintenance just because it's not, it doesn't use gears. It doesn't have really a gearbox in it. It's basically a little air compressor with a switch thing. But no, the performance of them is in consistency, because in range, way out in the field, the BB stream is still real tight, especially if you put a good barrel with the system, a good AEG barrel. It turns a regular sized gun into something that's a DMR without even raising the feet per second up. So yeah, I was very impressed with what I saw. And you don't have to have a really large tank. I mean, you're talking a tank that will fit inside of a hydration carrier pouch, or something close to that size. So to me, the tank's not an issue because the hose is real small. The hose is like the size of an aquarium hose. It's not big.
Yeah, it's not big at all. I have a PolarStar, and the people that are getting caught up on saying that the line will get caught on things and stuff like that.
Well, the line's going to be pretty darn durable, I would think. So I wouldn't even worry about that.
Well, the line more or less is just, it's not going to get caught on things as long as you keep it close to your body. I used to play paintball, and I've seen people use remote air all the time, and right. I've only seen air rigs snag 1 or 2 times on maybe a tree branch, but really I don't think it's enough to worry about it. But that is one of the biggest drawbacks that people find with the PolarStars, and it's really not that big of a deal. People are making out to be way too big.
Again, if you're going to go and be a serious airsoft skirmisher or player, really, no matter what you're carrying, whether it's PolarStar or whatever, or if it's like the best, the greatest thing ever in airsoft, it's always a good idea to have a backup gun in the trunk of your vehicle. I mean, if something goes down. Most of the time, it doesn't. But, stuff happens, But to me, the way the system is built, it looks strong enough. I don't see that people are going to have that many problems with the air thing. Plus, it has a quick disconnect that's pretty close to the grip. And if you need to disconnect the hose to get around something and reconnect it, we're talking seconds. Very fractional time amount to reconnect and get the gun running again. It's a little connector that looks kind of like a nail gun and air hose connector, but a tiny version of that. I don't foresee it being a problem. I think it's pretty much people just not ever handling one and having any experience with one, because if they do, I think it would change their perception of it.
Now, I will say one thing about the PolarStars. The version 3s just came out, or they're about to come out literally in a few days. I was reading an article from one of the distributors of PolarStars, and they basically just said what happened was they had a few delays. Apparently, their selector switches for the AKs got caught up in customs for some reason. So they're having some big problem with customs, so they had to put in a new order of selector switches until those get released from customs. Right. So they told us to expect within a week or so it should be out. It should be. They're talking about that everything should ship around this week.
Right.
So
I would love to have a kit for my AK as an option, because one thing about it, the Cyma gun, it's inexpensive enough that you can go buy an extra gun and gut it, and it becomes a PolarStar. So you've got, you can run literally 2 guns for not a huge amount of cost. One can be an AEG and one can be a PolarStar, and also you can use that as an opportunity to let people try both.
Yeah.
To me, where it's going to shine is going to be when the saw gearbox kicks in. I think they've announced something about that. I knew it was available because I have a friend who owns 2 PolarStars already, and that's all he uses. He used to run strictly just AEGs, but now he has 2 different PolarStars that he uses, and he said that they've had that available for a while. They just didn't announce it.
Yeah, it was more of a special order.
And evidently, customer service with what he's dealt with them has been phenomenal. So that's another shout out there, a free plug.
Oh yeah, hey Chris, do you have any headphones? You're kind of starting to echo a little bit.
Yeah, I think I do. Hang on, let me look.
Okay, no problem.
Is it better now?
It's more of me echoing through your speaker.
Okay. Let me turn down the volume just a hair.
Yeah, that might help a little bit.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's actually a lot better.
Okay.
Okay, but as far as the PolarStars go, yeah, the M249s they've been on special order for quite some time. It's more of you would just contact them and they would say, yeah, we have some, and we'll ship you one.
Right.
There are a few stores and whatnot that would they knew how to take down pretty much the PolarStars, and they could change them into 249s. They could put them into PSG ones. They could pretty much fit the version 2s into anything you wanted them to. So you weren't very limited with the version 2s, but if you want that specific gearbox, then yeah, you can special order an M249.
Right. Well,
The version 3s are going to be interesting. I'm interested to see who all buys them, because I know that they're going to be contracted through Echo One for the bodies. From what I know, they're going to be using Echo One for all the bodies, so they're going to have like the Red Star logo and whatnot on the side.
yeah,
But
a lot of people
what'll
are
be
going to opt to probably use their own gun and just gut it. Because
Yeah.
that's the thing. You can have a parts gun laying around without the internals, and then it becomes a PolarStar, because you've got to eliminate a lot of the AEG parts in it to make it work. It still uses a regular hop up and a regular barrel that you can use, that you're going to have anyway. You know.
And also too, a few stores have started to get in the LCT bodies, which, for people that don't know, LCT is one of yeah, it is probably one of the better companies in the airsoft industry. They're kind of up there. They kind of compete with VFC as far as who's a little bit better.
Right.
But if you can buy an LCT, they're really expensive. But some stores are starting to carry the LCT body kits for like $200, which is $200 or $300, which isn't bad at all if you're just going to be dropping a PolarStar in.
And speaking of LCT, they're coming out with a M60V.
Yeah, and I heard about that, and that's going to be interesting, and probably you're going to have to sell off an arm, a leg, and you're probably your firstborn to afford it, because it's going to be really expensive.
Well, what I foresee this is, to me, where PolarStar is really going to shine is in a support weapon role. If the M249 thing catches on, and if it's also available to adapt over to an M60, I think that's really where it's going to shine, because the problem that you have in airsoft, that at least what me and my team have run into, is there's no shortage of support weapons out there, but the reliability issue is a problem, and also they just don't have that much more range than a regular AEG does. If you're gonna be running a serious support gun role, you're already gonna be aware of that. You're gonna put a little bit more investment in your primary gear to make it run right. So why not just go ahead and give yourself some range? Because a true support weapon is designed to do just that. It's to support your squad to move, especially in a field environment. So if you can up your range and your reliability with the support gun, you've got a huge advantage in a serious milsim game.
And one of the main reasons that PolarStar is really starting to shine is because they have really high rate of fires. So those CQB fanatics over in California and at the CQB facilities, they're just going crazy over them because they shoot so fast and they're accurate. Right. Now, the reason they're becoming very popular across the United States, period, is because they work very good in the cold. Compared to an AEG, AEGs work great, or not great, but they work good in the cold, but you still risk cracking gearboxes and messing stuff up when you're running them in the cold. With the PolarStar, you don't have that. You don't have to feel like, oh, I'm going to go crack my $50 gearbox or $50 gearbox shell, and then I'll have to replace it and go through all that. The PolarStar is just running air, so it's not as big of a problem.
Right. And if too, you can, because you're wearing the tank, if you don't put a huge layer of material or whatever between you and the tank, your body can help warm the tank too. So you're not going to have as much of a condensation issue.
Yeah. And I mean, all you got to do is, I mean, if you're really, really worried about the tank getting cold, which I wouldn't even worry about it because it's compressed air, just throw one of those hot hands into the back of
Right.
your pack, and there you go.
I want to come up with a way to do that inside of a mag pouch for gas blowback stuff to keep them warm.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people do during the winter if they're running gas blowbacks. They'll put those little hot hands in there. I mean, even if you drop them, I mean, they come in like 100 packs for like $10. So I mean, you can just throw a bunch of them in your mags, and if you lose them, you'll still have more later. But that's one of the reasons PolarStars are getting really popular is because California, they want that speed. Across the United States, they want stuff to be able to play while it's cold. Because I mean, in some parts of the United States, it doesn't get higher than.
Hopefully, they'll also take off and.
Go ahead.
You there? You're cutting out.
Yeah, I was cutting out for a second.
Airsoft is really big in Ohio, so I would expect that people, if they're going to want to play in the wintertime in Ohio, they're going to be starting to take a serious look at that too.
And one of the other things that, and like you're saying, because they're squad automatic weapons, they're gonna the people are wanting that speed and wanting to send rounds down range. So really, PolarStar is really getting something across the board as far as just how everything works. I mean, they're pretty much gonna take over the market. I'm not gonna say they're gonna take over completely, but the higher end of the market for the people that can afford it, that are true hardcore airsofters, are willing to pay the extra price to have a reliable gun.
Well, the thing about it too is the people that are on an organized team or are part of something that's not just local weekend skirmishes stuff, where they're already going to be, they may have a team fund or some kind of a budget that that helps support what they do. Like for example, there's a team around here called Mystery Squad, and they hold their own events at a local field, and they help raise money for their own team and their equipment that way. And they are able to help support their own hobby by doing that, by putting on their own events. Well, those kind of guys are going to probably invest in something more like that too. But to me, the biggest thing is just it gives you options. It lets you focus on becoming a better player and becoming, creating a really competitive edge in certain things, because it eliminates some of the gun issue problems that you have. And for a battery, it just takes a really small LiPo battery to run the electronics for the thing too, and it fits in the stock. It's not something that's you even have to, from what I've been told, you don't even have to charge the battery up, for every game. You can run it for a few days before you even need it, because it doesn't have a huge drain on what's going on. It's just running the computer part, which controls the rate of fire and some of the stuff like that. I think you can even get a burst control unit for them too.
Yeah, they come with a FCU, and then that's how you control the rate of fire, the burst, not everything else.
I'm not a big fan of a large rate of fire anyway. I think it's a waste of time for most things. For CQB, I could see it might be handy, but for out in field use, as long as you're keeping somebody's head down with a support weapon, you can do it with 40 BBs or you can do it with 100. You're going to run out of BBs faster if you use 100.
Yeah. And I mean, like someone brought up a good point. You can drop thousands and thousands of dollars into an airsoft gun, but what it all comes down to is it takes one BB to get that hit, and that's all you need. So yeah, someone's over here with like a $300 gun mowing people down, but you just spent double the money and to do the same exact thing. So you have to keep that in mind too. You don't want to spend too much money, and I think that's why PolarStar is doing good. It's not too expensive, but it's up there to where only the hardcore airsofter really wants one.
Right. Well, it's still so much less expensive than a PTW or an Inakatsu or some of the boutique type guns as well. You could outfit yourself with a PolarStar system and a whole bunch of camo and web gear and goggles and everything else, and still have, only about the money that you would have spent. You could have your complete loadout plus a PolarStar and maybe even a scuba tank for extra air to keep in the vehicle to recharge your small tank for about the price of a nice PTW.
Yeah.
And have everything you need, and maybe even some gas to get there too. So.
Yeah. And I will say, one thing to kind of close us out. One of the things that I've been seeing a lot of and a lot of fighting on different forums is about the new Tokyo Marui MP7. I don't know if you know about that or not.
Nope, I'm not familiar with that yet.
Yeah, the Tokyo Marui MP7. They've released prototype videos. I'm not sure if it's out yet. It may be. But right now it's kind of which one's going to be better, the KWA or the Tokyo Marui. Tokyo Marui had a MP7 on the market for a long time as an AEP.
Right.
And now all of a sudden they have a gas gun. So it's going to be interesting to see really who takes the market as far as MP7s go.
I don't really see, from the places that I've been, I don't really see that many of those kind of guns, or the KMP9. And I think part of the reason is just it goes back to how quickly they empty the magazine, and people are not willing to invest the money in a lot of magazines. Also, at some of the events where, especially in the case of the KWA, in the events where I've gone to play, we have some pretty strict limits on FPS. It's 400, not 405. Or you have to be qualified as a DMR. And the MP7s that we were seeing, everything was shooting like 420 or out there. And even if they were siliconing it and doing different things to it, it was still shooting hotter than you could use it. So like, okay, so what do you do with it? You play with it and have fun, but you spend all this money in a gun that you can't skirmish with, and that was the big frustration for a lot of people.
Yeah, and then you have to drop more money into it to get a CQB bolt.
Right.
And that was one of the biggest downfalls about the KWA, which I believe they updated their design, and now it shoots 350.
Possibly.
Truly.
I haven't checked on it.
I haven't checked into it either, but if they have, then yeah, the KWA is a really good gun. It's just, it shoots really hot.
Everybody that I've talked to that's fired one says they shoot awesome. It's just the FPS issues,
Well, I think we just hit our 1 hour mark, so I think that should just about do it for today's podcast. Let me check real quick. Okay, we're good. Okay, well, I think that's about it for this podcast. Anyone gonna say anything else?
No, it's time to do laundry now.
Okay, guys, this has been episode 4 of the Airsoft podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for listening. We will hopefully be trying to get something up onto iTunes, hopefully shortly. I'm still looking into the best way to upload it onto there. I will keep you guys informed. Check out our Facebook. I will have all links for Chris from BunkerBoxes.com down in the description, as well as everybody else in this podcast will.
Yep.
And yeah, that'll be about it. So I think that's it. Episode 4 of the Airsoft podcast. Anyone want to say bye?
I just wanted to say thanks for having me on and for the invite. I'm glad we could pull this together. And
yeah, we literally contacted him probably 10 minutes before we wanted to start, and
yeah, that's right.
yeah, we were just trying to find someone, and he popped into my mind, and I'm like, shoot, let's send him a message. So it was nice having you, man. Great talking with you. And yeah, anybody want to say bye?
Nope. If you guys have any business related emails, send it to the airsoftpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah.
Yeah, and links for that will be in the description.
It's the airsoftpodcast@gmail.com.
All right, good.
I think that's about it, guys. We'll see you later, and thanks for listening.